Hey everyone, I'm your astrologer Brittany of Ethereal Astrology, taking you to new heights with inspired perspectives that transcend the details. Today, you're watching your astrology horoscope for the new moon in the sign of Capricorn, which occurs on Thursday, January 11th, 2024 at 6:57 a.m. Eastern Time or 3:57 a.m. Pacific Time. Now, what I think is going on here at this new moon in Capricorn is that we're trying now to put some things into action in our lives in order to put it into a better place, especially after getting some clarity recently on what we want to do next here and in what ways. But even though we're trying to put some things into action, we're still struggling to do so. And we're still struggling to do so because I think we're maybe torn between how to act or acting in just a lot of different ways that aren't helpful to us, which is making us feel very frustrated that we're going to have to come to terms with. So that's what I'm going to talk about in this video. If you want to hear more about that, please do stay tuned because I'm going to hop into it right now. In order to get started, what I like to do first is, of course, to place it on the chart so that you can see first what it is that I'm referring to. So I'm going to do that now here. This video is for the new moon in Capricorn. Because of that, I've adjusted the chart accordingly. I know that because I see the moon and the sun here at the exact same sign in the exact same degree here of Capricorn at 20 degrees. And when that happens here, we do get what is called a new moon. Hey, what are new moons all about? Well, new moons are the beginning of a new lunar month or a new lunar cycle here, and therefore bring new beginnings, new energy, and fresh starts that will gradually build over time here to get more momentum. Not only can they bring a new beginning, new energy, and fresh starts, but also too, since they have a new energy, they can bring new approaches to things that might have been hard for us in the past. Hey, what are we getting a new beginning or a new energy here, or a new and fresh approach to in some way? Well, Capricorn, because that's the sign here that this new moon is in. What is Capricorn about? Well, Capricorn is a Saturn-ruled sign. It's more serious here about our life and the direction that it's going in. Not only is Capricorn very serious about life and where we're going and all of that, it also too can be more practical, being an earth sign, more realistic here about how we approach those things. It can also too be more structured in a lot of ways and more disciplined here as well. So I think that what this means to me is that what's going on here at this new moon in Capricorn is that we're trying to get a new approach to our life and the direction that it's going in here so that we can move forward into that in a more structured, serious, disciplined, practical, realistic here sort of way as we move forward. So that's what we're trying to do. Figure out how to move forward, practical, structured, realistic, disciplined kind of way, okay? And so that's what I think the big picture is here of this energy. Now, before I give you more specific details now about that and how that's going to play out, I do like to go first back in time a bit to some alignments that have already occurred. And I like to go back in time to give you more of the context of how we got here and of why this theme is now coming up, because I think that can change a lot here when it comes to the interpretation here, or just make the interpretation more informative. So I'm going to do that. If you don't want to watch that, that's totally fine, because I do this in every video. You can go ahead and skip ahead in the video. I'll put the timestamps down below so that you can do that. But for those of you who are interested, I'm going to go back in time now. And I do go back in time quite a bit, all the way to an alignment that occurred roughly here. These are like rough estimates between January to April of 2020. Around that time, here we had a very unusual, rare, unique, and difficult alignment occur in the astrology, which was Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter all coming conjunct around the same degrees that this new moon is happening right now, by the way. Here, that was very rare because Saturn and Pluto only come conjunct every 35 years and not always with Jupiter there. And it was difficult because Saturn and Pluto do tend to be more challenging here than the others. And Jupiter was in Capricorn, a sign it doesn't like to be in, which also wasn't really that helpful there either. So that was a challenge. What was the difficulty, the rare difficulty going on there that only happens maybe every 30 years? Well, it was about us starting to realize or understand, perhaps Jupiter, that something was off in our lives, especially Saturn, Capricorn, the structure and direction of our lives, and that we needed to make Pluto big sweeping change really to end things that weren't working for us and that hadn't been working for us for many years prior in order to move forward here, which was upsetting. So January, April 2020, something's not right in my life. Got to make big change here now to end things I don't like so I can get to a place that was better. And that then leads me to the next alignment that I want to mention, which was about 2 years later. Now, April of 2022. Okay. And in April of 2022, we had a new moon solar eclipse here in the sign of Taurus. Okay. Which I thought was meant to be helpful. Okay, that's because new moons are all about new beginnings, new energies, fresh starts. Solar eclipses superpower that, and it was an eclipse on the North Node, which I believe is more helpful about our destiny. Okay, and it was in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is a lot about fertility, abundance, for new things to grow here and come after this point. It's also as well about feeling more secure and more confident here in our experience and what is next. So in April of 2022, we begin to feel like we've ended enough things here that we can now start anew and create things different for our lives after this point in a much better way. And that then leads me now to the next alignment that I want to mention, which happened really about 2 weeks after that time, around also April of 2022. And 2 weeks later, we had a full moon lunar eclipse in the opposite sign here of Scorpio on the South Node. Now that to me was difficult. It was difficult because sure, sometimes full moons are a little bit more challenging than new moons, but especially because it was on the South Node here. And the South Node can be challenging because it indicates an area of our lives that comes naturally to us, traits and tendencies, but that are no longer useful for us at this time, especially if we persist in them and can keep us stuck here. That was going on. So this was us 2 weeks later starting to realize that we had some traits and tendencies that we're comfortable with, but that are not helpful to manifest a new beginning that we're now feeling is more fertile and abundant. What were those traits that we were starting to realize were not helpful for us that we needed to release or get rid of at that time? Well, they were Scorpio traits because that's where the eclipse was. Scorpio is a lot about change. And in this case, making too much change here. We needed to stop doing that because a lot of those changes had already been done. Scorpio 2 is also a lot about intense emotion and a lot of times negative emotions. We needed to stop indulging those because those times had ended and we're now moving into a better place. Scorpio 2, and again, I'm using it negatively because the South Node was there. Can also be too about becoming too intertwined with relationships here and other people and working with them, maybe even codependent. So we needed to get rid of that here so that we can figure out ourselves and what this next chapter was without those things bringing us down. Not only that, Scorpio 2 is about spending too much money or losing money here as well, that we also needed to stop as well because we didn't know what money we're going to need later on down the road and we needed to start saving more. Okay, so that's what happened then. In a new fertile beginning, April 2022, after ending a lot of things to move forward, but now we got the wrong habits. We're changing too many things, indulging too many negative emotions, giving too much of our power away to other people and spending too much money here. That's not conducive to this new beginning that now we needed to quit and end and get rid of here. That was going on. And that I think was a helpful realization. But even though that was a helpful realization, I think it took us pretty much almost all of 2022 to really figure out and come to terms with. It wasn't until the beginning of 2023 that I think we started to kick that. And that's because Mars went retrograde in Gemini for the end of 2022, which is about our mindset and our perspective. And Mercury went retrograde in Capricorn, again, the same degree that the new moon is now and the Saturn Pluto was in January of 2023. And I think in January 2023, we finally started to readjust our mindset, Mercury, Gemini, and some things in our environment as well when it comes to relationships and money here to be different and to be more independent, more stable and secure, more calm emotions here, saving money and all of that here, which I think was meant to be a good thing, even if it felt a little crazy at the time. Okay. And because we did that, then a few months after that, I believe it was February, March, right around there, maybe I'll say that February, March of 2023, here we had a few more things happen. We had Pluto leave the sign of Capricorn and enter the sign of Aquarius, which is a very rare thing. And we had Saturn also leave the sign of Aquarius and enter the sign of Pisces here as well. Okay, when this happens, these are both fairly slower moving planets here. This indicates major chapter changes and big shifts in our lives here, to kind of start a new story here and move forward in some sort of way, and start a new story with Pluto and Aquarius, where we felt more free and liberated to be our authentic selves, and with Saturn and Pisces to release old things that were no longer serving us. So in March of 2023, we felt like, you know, that we've gotten in a new experience of life and adjusted our perspective here enough to be more slow, stable, and secure, that we could finally embark yet again on a new chapter of life that's more authentic to us, and try again to do what we wanted to do in early 2022. Okay, that then leads me now to the next alignment I want to mention, which happened around April of 2023. And at that time, we had a new moon solar eclipse in Aries here, and that was, I also thought, a helpful thing. New moons, new beginnings. Solar eclipses, superpower. Aries, action, new beginnings. That was us trying to take bigger action now on a new beginning yet again that we've been trying to get to for quite some time to move forward. And I thought that was helpful. But even though that was helpful, we started to run into problems yet again in the months after that. I do think it was around May, June. Maybe we'll say that roughly around May to June of 2023. And what happened there is Mars then started to Venus started to go retrograde here in the sign of Leo. Okay, now this was a challenging thing here because it's a planet going retrograde and a personal planet. You know, when the personal planets go retrograde, they affect us a bit more. What was the challenging thing? Well, sometimes when personal planets go retrograde, they can make us feel stuck or feel like we have to slow down, or like we're not ready for something here that was going on. So this was us feeling stuck and unable to really progress on this new beginning, and unable to progress because we were unable. Venus is about receiving, and Leo, joy, pleasure, happiness, because we were unable to receive joy, pleasure, and happiness after having so many negative experiences over the course of the past few years prior to this, especially in this better way. That was very, very hard. Okay, that was stopping us. Not only did that happen then, but I want to say about a month later, June, July of 2023, we then had another significant alignment, Pluto square the nodal axis here, which continued to make us feel stuck, but not only made us feel stuck here, but forced us to make a choice. When planets square the nodal axis, they bring choices. It forced us to make a choice here, and a choice to make some big change, a few more big changes here in our lives, in order to honor more of our emotions and more of our joy, instead of neglecting it like we had been doing here in the ways that it is that we need. And I felt as though we started to do that in June of 2023, which was a good thing. Okay. But after we started to honor more of our joy here and our emotions, what then happened really the last month or two, December of 2023, Mercury went retrograde here in the sign of Sagittarius. Here we then ran into some more confusion, because Mercury retrograde can bring confusion, and Sagittarius is a lot about what's new, next, and different. We then began to run into some confusion about what we wanted to do new, next, different here in our lives. That was going on now that we were in touch with our emotions and honoring our heart. And I think we were confused about what we wanted to do new, next, and different, because we were thinking too big and based on old belief systems, Sagittarius things here, and still didn't have the right perspective. Well, as of the past few weeks, Mercury went direct. We now got clarity, I think, on what we want to do next, now that we're honoring more of our emotions and our heart and our thinking smaller and simpler. And because we finally got clarity, we now here for this new moon, of which this video is finally for, are trying to figure out how to use that clarity we got about our next steps to really move it forward to improve our lives, and how to approach these ideas that we now have in a more structured, strategic, realistic, practical, disciplined kind of way that's going to get us the best result here and last the test of time as we move forward. Okay, and that's it. That's what's going on there. Maybe just to say that really briefly, what's going on in the context of this new moon in Capricorn is that we finally got some clarity now about what we want to do next in our lives. That's new, different, better, fertile, abundant, and that's more in alignment with our heart here. And we're trying to figure out how to build on that. next in a way that's going to last, structured, strategic, practical, responsible, all of that. Okay, and that's it, because that's all I'm going to say there. I'm now going to zoom back in to this new moon here to give you more of the details about how it's going to play out. So I'm going to do that, and to do that, I'm just going to place it here in the chart one more time. Here's that new moon in Capricorn, okay, about us trying to figure out how to take our ideas and clarity now about our lives and really build it in a way that's structured, practical, going to work, all of that. Okay. What do I want to focus on here? Well, the first alignment now that I want to focus on here is the fact that this new moon is squaring the nodal axis exactly in a square with it. As you can see, we've got the new moon 20 degrees Capricorn making an exact square over here to the south node in Libra, and an exact square over here to the north node in Aries. So let's talk about this. This is a bit of a difficult alignment here because it's planets, of course, making two squares. You know, squares are hard. Not only is it difficult because of that, but it's also difficult because it's making these negative aspects to the nodal axis, which has a lot to do with where the eclipse is, right? Where eclipses occur, the nodal axis is where eclipses occur and things like that. So this is a bit of a challenge in a significant way. What is the challenge? Well, according to Evolutionary Astrology by Jeffrey Wolf Green, which is what I do, when a planet squares the nodal axis, it's considered a skipped step. That's what it's called. And our Evolutionary Astrology calls it. And it's called a skip step because the planets, or the luminaries in this case, that are squaring the nodal axis, we literally tend to skip. We tend to skip these things and not do them at all, or do them a little bit here when we really need to be doing them much more. That's going on. That can make us feel stuck and unable to progress. Okay, and we tend to skip the planets here, the luminaries in this case, being squared because we don't know what to do. Do we do the south node in Libra? Do we do the north node? We get confused, especially since these planets fall right in between here, the nodal axis as well. Hey, what is it that we're either skipping, not doing enough to the full extent that we need to do, or confused about doing here that's going on? Well, it's the Capricorn stuff, right? Which is where the new moon is, square the nodal axis. And the Capricorn stuff is about building something more long-term, more long-lasting, in a more structured, serious, strategic, disciplined way that's going to last the test of time. So the first thing that this means right here to me, this alignment, is that we want to take our ideas that we recently got clarity on over the course of the past 2 weeks about our next steps in our life and build them in a more serious, practical, realistic, strategic, disciplined way that's actually going to work to last the test of time. But we're stuck when it comes to doing that and uncertain of maybe how to do that or in what way, or not doing that properly here, and are confused and are feeling unable to progress, which is frustrating, mind you, right? Does that sound frustrating to you? It sounds frustrating to me. Is very frustrating here at this time. Hey, not only that, but I want to move on. I'm going to come back to this alignment in a minute, but I want to move on now to another one. The other alignment, or the next alignment I want to mention, is also going to be the fact too that this new moon in Capricorn is not only making a square to the nodal axis here, but is also making a square to Chiron in Aries here as well. So let's talk about that. This is also a difficult alignment here because it is a square, which is hard, and because Chiron here is involved, which also has to do with fears, insecurities, triggers, and difficulties. So this is another, we've got two difficult alignments going on here at this new moon. What is the difficulty? Well, remember, the new moon's in Capricorn. We got to keep coming back to that, okay? Is in Capricorn, about wanting to take our ideas and clarity that we recently got and build it in a more strategic, practical way that's going to last the test of time here. Chiron, it brings more fears and insecurities and difficulty when it comes to doing that, more vulnerabilities, and it's in Aries. Aries is a sign of action and of doing things, but Aries does things very differently than Capricorn, which is why they square. Aries isn't as serious and diligent and practical and realistic as Capricorn is. Aries is a fire sign. It's more passionate, more in the moment of what it's feeling and of what's going on here and of what's happening. That's occurring, that I think we also want to do, and that we're torn between. You know, I want to build something serious, right? Do you see? I want to build something serious here in my life with some clarity on some ideas I've recently got that's going to last the test of time, practical, realistic. But I'm stuck on how to do that, and uncertain of how to proceed, because even though part of me wants to be serious and disciplined, another part of me just wants to follow the fire, follow the passion, do whatever I want to do in the moment, and be in the present about what's going on instead of thinking so hard about it all, or being so strategic about it, which is now making me feel torn, even more hurt and vulnerable when it comes to what to do that's going on. Okay, so this is very challenging. Do I be serious and structured because part of me wants to be that, or do I just go with the moment and the passion and do whatever I'm feeling like needs to happen in that time? I want to do both. I don't know. Hard. In addition to that, I'm going to move on to the next alignment here that I want to mention. This new moon is not super close here to Pluto. It's about 9 degrees away, as you can see, but I might count it as being fairly close, especially because the planets here are in motion, and the moon is going to be conjunct Pluto very shortly after this new moon here. So, and the sun's going to be conjunct Pluto a week later. So I want to mention this too, the new moon conjunct Pluto, especially with Pluto now at the last degree of a sign, which does heighten its intensity and its importance. So when I look at that, this is also a challenging alignment. 3 hard things I've mentioned here. This is challenging because Pluto can be a bit difficult, and Pluto can be a bit difficult because it has a lot to do with parts of our lives that we feel naturally comfortable in and secure in doing, but that really aren't helpful for us anymore, and that need to be changed. Pluto is about change, transformation, evolution, and that need to be changed, transformed in order for us to move forward. So this is hard because it also indicates stuckness in habits that are no longer useful for us. And in this case, the habits that are no longer useful for us, where Pluto is in Capricorn, and Pluto takes things to an extreme degree, is Capricorn to an extreme degree here, which can indicate being structured, responsible, serious, boundaries, but extremely to almost an unhealthy degree that's going on. So what this is indicating to me, to back out to synthesize for a minute, is that we want to take some ideas we recently got clarity on the past few weeks, and we want to move them forward and build on them in a more practical, effective, efficient way that's going to last the test of time. But we're feeling stuck and unable to build on these ideas because we don't know the right approach to acting and building on these things. And we don't know the right approach to building and acting on these things here because a part of us wants to be serious and disciplined, and another part of us doesn't want to be serious and disciplined, just wants to follow the passion in the gut and go in the flow of the moment. And not only because of that, but also too because our serious and disciplined side of ourselves is overcompensating. It's trying to be too serious, too disciplined, too structured here, and it's not in balance. It's not in balance here in the way that it really needs to be as well, creating conflict within ourselves. Do you see? Not only are we torn because do I be serious or go with the moment and the passion and what I'm excited about, but because our seriousness is too serious, too structured, and not allowing the flow that it needs here as well. That's hard. Again, making this a very difficult new moon here, very frustrated, and Pluto can bring more anger. There's been anger going on here the past few weeks with Mars being so close to the sun a few weeks ago, but now Pluto's bringing the anger here too, can bring some sense of anger of like, why am I not getting it? Every time I think I figured something out, it's like another issue that comes up, can bring more anger there that can definitely be taken out on ourselves, but may also bleed out into others. Here, not only is that going on, that's hard, but I also want to briefly mention 2 other difficult alignments that are going on too. We've got Venus at the time of this new moon in Sagittarius, making an exact trine over here to Chiron in Aries, also hard, making us feel unable to be at ease, Venus ease, when it comes to new ideas, adventuring, exploring, since Chiron can bring triggers. And we've got Mercury also still lingering around in that square to Neptune here, making us feel a bit hazy and disoriented in Sagittarius, a sign it doesn't really like to be in. Okay, so also more difficult things. Okay, but I'm not going to linger more on that since I think you're getting the point. So what I want to now switch to is the advice, how to handle this, or what is it trying to teach us, this difficulty here at this time. Okay. And I think the advice that I want to give you is going to be a few things back to the new moon itself here. And what I want to emphasize is a lot of the advice here is conscious choice, okay, is one of the pieces of advice. I'm going to give you a few here. Conscious choice, because this new moon is in a square to the nodal axis. And according to Evolutionary Astrology by Jeffrey Wolf Green, the way to overcome a stuckness here with a skip step is to make a conscious choice here, and to make a conscious choice to do the planets that are being skipped or squared more fully, or to a better extent that it is that we need to do. So my first piece of advice here is that we need to consciously choose to do the Capricorn, be more serious, be more structured here, be more effective, efficient, realistic, and long-term. We need to choose to do that, and we need to put off the Aries, present, passion, excitement. We're going to be able to do the Aries season, March, April, okay? But right now, it's Capricorn season. We need to choose to be more serious, more structured, more practical, more realistic. Not only is the advice, we need to consciously choose to be more Capricorn, but the advice as well is that we need to consciously choose to be more Capricorn, serious, structured, strategic, in a more balanced way. That's more fair. That's more balanced, and that's not overly serious or structured. And that's part of the advice as well, for a few reasons here. Sure, because this new moon is conjunct Pluto, and Pluto is about fundamentally changing our approach to the way we do something, not to totally get rid of it here, but to purify it in some way and do it to a higher and healthier extent here that is going on. And also too, because according to evolutionary astrology, when you get a skip step alignment like this, there is one node out of the nodal axis that helps to resolve the conflict more than the other. And it's the node that the planets or luminaries being squared last touched. And the node that these planets, luminaries, the sun and moon, last touched was the south node over here in Libra, just a few months during Libra season, and the moon just a few days ago at that third quarter moon in Libra here. So we need to go back to that in order to make the choice to be more serious Capricorn easier. And Libra's about what? Libra's the sign of balance. It's a sign of balance. You have to do things in a more balanced way here. That's going on. That's not as stressful. You know, Libra is also as well about peace and harmony and ease and beauty, where you're not being so hard on yourself. It's also about slowing down a little bit more and taking things as they come, and maybe too being more diplomatic with relationships and smoothing things over with them instead of being angry and forcing things as well. So not only is the advice that I want to give you here that we need to be the Capricorn when it comes to these ideas you just got clarity on, structured, practical, realistic, disciplined, and serious, but in a more balanced way where you're not so hard on yourself here that's going on, and where you're not pushing so hard to get things done here, and where you're kinder to yourself and kinder to relationships here as well, and can smooth things over with them, because a lot of times we need other people to help us do things we want to do in order to bring more things together here that's going on, because that's going to help here. And I think that there's support to do that eventually, because new moons can bring new energy, so they can bring a new approach to get us out of these things that's going on. And because Mars, I need to note, is in Capricorn now, a sign that it is exalted in, that it really likes to be in, functions very well, and it's trine Jupiter, which is also very helpful for new and better approaches to things as well that's going on. So that's what we need to do. And I think if you just getting that, just make a choice to do it, things are going to start to flow much better for you, and work more effectively to help you bring some of your ideas together in a much better way that it is that you need. That's more smooth here at this time. Okay, anything else that I want to say? Sure, maybe another thing that I say before I repeat and summarize all this stuff and move on. Another thing that I want to say here about this Capricorn. Remember, a big part of this interpretation is that we're being too Capricorn, too structured, too strategic. That's been a huge theme, really, I think, especially in some of my horoscopes over the course of the past year, a lot of last year. I think in the middle of the year, around June or July, that was a big theme in my horoscopes, is that we're being too serious and too structured here, which is actually making us do less instead of do more, because the structure and the seriousness is making it a heavy weight. And when you have a heavy weight in your shoulders, it's harder to do things. So you need to loosen up, still be serious and structured, but not to an extreme extent. Here, that's going to help at this time. Okay, so I hope that's becoming clear there about why this is happening. Okay, and that's it. Because that's all I'm going to say now in terms of the aspects. I'm just going to repeat that here one last time without the jargon before I move on. So let me do that now. What I think is going on here at this new moon in Capricorn is that we're trying to take some recent ideas about our life that we just got clarity on and move them forward and take action on them in a way that's more practical, responsible, disciplined, structured, and that's going to last the test of time, which is a very, very good thing to want to do. But even though that's what we're trying to do and want to do, we're having difficulty moving these ideas forward. And we're having difficulty moving these ideas forward in this more strong, structured way that's going to last the test of time here, because a part of us, I think, is pushing the structure and the discipline and the seriousness too hard in a way that feels oppressive. That's a heavy weight here. That's making it hard for us to do anything here. And not only is it difficult for us to move forward on these ideas because part of us is pushing the structure too hard that feels oppressive, but also because another part of us just wants to break free from the oppressive, serious approach and just do whatever in the moment here that's going on. And we're feeling torn in a lot of different directions, which is making us stuck, hard to decide, feel really hurt, disoriented, confused, all of that. Okay. And because that's what's going on, and angry at ourselves and others, right? Not make things happen. And because that's what's going on, I'm going to give you some advice. And the advice here for this new moon, what I think it's trying to teach us here is to build these new ideas that we have and to build them in a more serious and structured way, and not this crazy way, to build them in a more serious and structured way, but not in a way that's overly structured, overly disciplined, and to have balance with that approach and to be more fair and kind to ourselves and others in order to bring things together. Because if we can still be serious, but in a more balanced and kind way, then I think it's actually going to help us after this point do what we want to do more easily, more effectively, and have it work and come together better than it has in the past. Okay, after this point, that will be more useful. Okay, and that's it. That's all I'm going to say there. Maybe I want to add before I want to add that what I like to do at this point in the video is just say just a few extra things that just come to me here, and then I'll look at your inside degrees and pull your card. And I think what I just want to do now is emphasize it and talk a little bit more about Pluto at the last degrees of Capricorn here, because it is going to re-enter Aquarius again soon, even though it's going to go back, it's going to retrograde back into Capricorn until the very end of this year. So I want to talk about that for a minute here. When Pluto enters a sign, and it entered Capricorn, I believe, back in 2008, it tends to take that sign to an unhealthy degree, too much of that sign that's not working for us here, because that sign is kind of past its prime in a lot of ways. And not only does it tend to take that sign to an unhealthy degree here, but it also tends to indicate that we need to bring that sign back into balance, or purify that sign here to do it in a more healthy way here that's going on. And the way to purify that sign is to really focus on the opposite sign of it, because opposites are special. Opposites bring each other into balance here in a way that other things can't. Here that's going on. And when a planet is at the last degree now of that sign, it brings that to completion. It brings this lesson of something's unhealthy, okay, too extreme, needs to be balanced, need to do the opposite in order to bring it into balance together, to start to more fully learn that lesson and solidify, so we don't have to come back and keep dealing with it, even though I think we might still be dealing with this for another year. That's going on. And again, the thing with Capricorn, when Pluto entered it in 2008, is we began to be too Capricorn, too serious, too structured, too rigid at the expense of our own emotions, at the expense of other people's feelings here, that has not been working out for us, okay? And that has not been working out for us. How is it Capricorn? That hasn't been working out for us because it's either created situations, right, Capricorn, that are very structured and very effective and efficient, but that don't honor anyone's emotions. Here, don't take anyone's emotion, and are ruthless and unfeeling, and can be kind of cold and harsh. Okay, which might explain a lot of capitalism in America today, especially because Capricorn has a lot to do with business and work and things like that. Or what it can create with Capricorn, if that's not the case, is having a lot of things, making money, functioning smoothly, but at the expense of people and emotions and of heart and of sometimes what actually matters here with the meanings of life. But it can also create another effect too, where we're trying to create careers and things that will work, but we can't create them at all because we're being too harsh on ourselves, and then everything falls apart. So it can create either or. Two discipline, Pluto and Capricorn, two Pluto Capricorn, structured and disciplined, that have created a lot of good structures that now lack meaning and heart and purpose and all of that. Or I'm pushing myself too hard to do things, too serious, too structured, and I feel suffocated because I'm not honoring my emotions, and now nothing works. I'm trying everything, I'm doing everything super hard, super right, but it's not working. It's not working because you're missing an important part of yourself, right? We're not robots here. That needs to be brought more into the equation that could have gone on in various parts of, society, culture, and our lives over the course of the past since 2008. And now that Pluto's at the last degree, getting ready to leave it, it's saying, come on, you have to fix this. You have to stop creating a bunch of well-functioning things in your life or organizations that don't honor people's heart and emotions. You need to stop doing that, okay? And bring more of the emotions into the equation so that you can create structures that actually function well in a holistic and balanced way. Or you need to stop driving yourself so hard here and loosen up on the driving yourself so hard to create to honor more of your own emotions here, to bring more things together. So I think that's another thought that I want to add here too. This is the culmination here of a lot of things that have been going on that have been challenging for the past, what is it? Has it been 15 years since 2008? 16? I don't know. To learn a lot of those lessons and to complete a lot of those things. And the lesson that we've been trying to learn here is, sure, be structured and disciplined, but not in a way that you're pushing yourself too hard and overlooking the emotions of others, because you pushing yourself too hard is not going to work. It's either going to create things that are functional but meaningless, or not help you do anything at all, so keep that in mind here. That's what I think we're learning, and that's super important. And then I think too, a lot of the biggest problems in your life since 2008, I think, in my opinion, have to do with that. Sure, they're going to have a bunch of different faces and a bunch of different names and people and situations attached. But I think a lot of the biggest problems in your life, if you look back since 2008, are going to be because of the Pluto and Capricorn here. Either you built a lot of things in your life that functioned, but really don't connect with you at all. Here that now need to be shifted, right? Or you were too hard on yourself to build something that worked, and ignoring the emotions, and therefore you didn't create anything of value in your life because you were being too hard on yourself here and on how you need to do it, and being too traditional and too serious here, that now you need to loosen up on. Here that's going on, okay? That's the point. Right. And that can play out very differently. Maybe some of it for some of you was relationships. You really wanted that, the Capricorn, the serious relationship, but you didn't think about what your heart really wanted. So you got in a serious relationship with someone that could give you the nice car, the kids, the home, the family, but that you didn't actually really connect with emotionally, so that's going on. Or you've been pushing too hard for a relationship that was a certain way or looked a certain way, and no one could ever live up to that, and then you never got into a relationship. It could be certain things like that that's going on here as well, or it could be situations with relationships where other people were like that with you. That was hard. Same with work stuff. Maybe some of you worked really hard to build a career or a job or a business here that was serious and professional and all of that, but then there's no heart in it. There's really no heart in it now, and you don't like it. Or maybe some of you tried super hard to build a business and do the job, but you were too hard on yourself and too serious and too traditional of a way, which your soul didn't really want. And of course it didn't work out, because you were ignoring that part of you. So it could work out that way. A lot of it could work out too with a bunch of different areas, home areas, friendships. Maybe some of you were too hard on friendships or got involved with friendships that weren't in alignment with you. Or maybe some of you wanted a certain home in a certain area and you were trying too hard to make the home be a certain way that it actually didn't really resonate with you at all. Or, it can play out in a bunch of different areas here too. Maybe you were too hard on your health, and on your body to do certain things here and weren't giving it the space that it really needed, and your emotions got weird, or the physical health went right. It can play out in a lot of different ways here, but I think in the end, it's all going to come back here to the Pluto in Capricorn. We've been too hard, too serious, too structured, which has led to things that exist that function very well, but are meaningless and don't really resonate with us, or we push ourselves too hard, causing our emotions to feel neglected and rebel and not do anything of meaning here. That now needs to be corrected, and needs to be corrected by bringing things into balance and by being structured and serious and disciplined, maybe even traditional in some ways, but in a more balanced way here, where we're not getting stuck in extremes. Another thought that I want to add here too, that just came to me, is I believe that earlier this year, June and July, which was around Cancer season, which is the opposite sign of Capricorn here, we did need to do the opposite extreme. So this is for those of you who watched my horoscopes back in June or July. I believe I said in June or July that we needed to do the opposite extreme of Capricorn, which is Cancer. We need to go all in on emotion, all in on our heart, all in on our feelings, all in on the things that made us happy. And I do believe that was true for June or July. Well, now we need to bring that into balance. Do you see here? We were too hard and too tough and too stiff on ourselves since 2008, okay, which created two different responses: great things, no meaning, or just nothing of value at all, okay? Well, last year, 2023, we then needed to go in the exact opposite direction. Not too hard on ourselves, not too structured. We needed to be all emotion, all feeling, all heart, all happiness, all joy. And now 2024, the beginning of it, okay, things are going to change in April big time. But the beginning of here, January 2024, we now need to balance both the extreme hard work with the extreme emotion, so to do something more fair, so that each of the signs can be done in a healthier, more balanced way. And that's a lot of times how you balance something, right? Do you see, when you balance something that's unbalanced, you usually have to go to one extreme to the other until it kind of meets in the middle. When you think of a pendulum, it'll go one extreme to the other, and then you give it some time and it'll eventually even out. And so we're now in this evening out process of all of that. So those are just some thoughts there. Extreme Capricorn since 2008, extreme Cancer, especially since June or July of this past year, 6 months ago. Now we've got to balance it out. Okay. because that's what's going to fix a lot of your big struggles that you've had, especially since 2008, and set you up for new struggles to eventually occur. Okay, that's all I'm going to say there. Now I'm going to take a look at your inside degrees, and then I'm going to pull a card. The inside degrees were not written by me. They're written by someone else named Elias Lonsdale, who channeled the meanings of each of the degrees from spirit, but I like to look at these because I really enjoy his work and find it insightful here. The new moon is in Capricorn at 20 degrees. I find that the degree before, of, and after can all be relevant because the planets are in motion. However, I think the one that resonated with me the most this time is 20 degrees Capricorn. So that's the only one I'm going to read, although you can, of course, pause the video and look at the others if you would like. But we're going to do that. I have Capricorn 20 degrees Capricorn on the screen. It says, we bear within us many past lives, each one complete, autonomous, emitting its own subtle, special fragrance. Okay, I think what I want to equate this first line with is going to be 2008, right? Since Pluto entered Capricorn 2008. Being our past lives. We bear within us many past experiences since 2008, which have their own fragrance, their own feeling, attached to it. Okay, let's read on. It says, there are points along the journey when we must stand together with the whole lineup of our previous selves and follow out the journey where they were all leading to. Okay, so this second line to me means not only is there something with us from 2008 that we've been carrying, but there eventually becomes a point, which is now, where we have to look back at what's been happening since Pluto entered Capricorn since 2008 and examine what worked and what didn't, what worked and what didn't, where have our actions been leading us to? Have the things since 2008 and the approach we've been having to them working or not? Okay. It says this is a formidable task, not good, not easy. Formidable means tough task. There's a lot to live up to. It grants you authority and conviction, and it makes it very hard to get started. Okay? It's a hard thing to do, a lot to go over, and hard to figure out how to start, where to go next. In order to get anywhere, you must at times deny the awareness that everybody is there and do whatever you can do, apparently on your own. Okay? So what this means to me, what I get from this line is that sometimes you might want to ignore, right? Deny the awareness. Sometimes you might want to ignore that certain things in our life have happened since 2008 or that we've had challenges since 2008 here so that we can move on. Okay. It says, but truly the depth of experience, the substantive inward development and the power of your inner drive give it away. You are destiny charged in a larger in life fashion. Being self-possessed is your watchword. There is so much to accomplish, and at the center of the journey lies self-knowledge and the overriding determination to clear the karmic slate, free up what has been trapped and bound, and come to yourself afresh. Okay, so not only from this inside degree am I getting here, there has been a theme that's been going on in our lives since 2008. Okay, that's been a challenge here that now we really need to examine here to come to terms with and figure out where we want to go next, that we may not want to examine, we may want to ignore here, but that we can ignore it, whether we like it or not. It's a part of us. What's happened since 2008, we can't ignore it. We need to face it head on. Okay. And if we can face whatever bad things have happened or challenges there, we can clear the karmic slate. We can clear the karmic slate and we can come up with a new approach, a fresh. Come to yourself afresh. We can come up with a fresh approach and clear the karmic slate. And I think that because Pluto has to do with karma, and I think that the fresh approach is a more balanced approach here that's needed. It says this destiny wheel is guided, cosmically supported, centrally relevant to your whole world, and you will do it. Turn the darkest of hours into the brightest breakthroughs by refusing to stop anywhere or to back down from your resolve to wake up this time and get on with the greater path at long last. So that to me is hopeful here, that even though it can be hard to go back to 2008 and look at your challenges and what went wrong and to answer for them in a lot of ways, but that we're going to do it. We're going to come up with a new approach to clear the karmic slate and wake up from the challenges that have happened that maybe some of us have been complicit in ourselves, creating some of these things here too. What's going on? Okay. It's time to wake up, and waking up to me means to stop being too serious and too disciplined, and to realize that that's the issue. Realize that that's the issue and stop doing it. you know, or do it in a more balanced way here so that you can move forward, you know. So that's the thought there. And this degree feels kind of serious. A square to the nodes is kind of serious too. A turning point. Squares to the nodes can indicate turning points. And so I'm feeling like this new moon can be a powerful turning point here for a lot of you to realize that you've been too serious and too tough, and that now you need to balance that out here and to have better approaches to things. Okay. All right, I guess that's all I'll say there. Now I'm going to pull your card. Your card, look, it's a star. It's a star upright, which is an Aquarius card, which is interesting because, of course, Aquarius season is next. And Pluto's going to enter Aquarius again briefly soon. And then at the bottom of the deck, we've got the Fool upright. Wow, we've got two major arcana here. This is very significant. And I was just on that note saying that this does feel like a very significant new moon, a turning point of sorts. Here, and the cards seem to confirm it. You know, the Fool is a lot about new beginnings, new approaches, trying something different or doing things in a very different way than you have before. And the Star is about hope and optimism here, maybe even about dreams coming true, so to speak. So I think the message, the final message that I'll leave you here with the cards is a lot of you need to start doing things in a different way in your life. You know, if there's something that you really want to do that maybe you've been trying to do for a while, you need to start doing it in a different way than you have been doing it before. A new way, a new approach that ideally is more balanced here when it comes to the structure. And if you can do things in a new way, you're going to be guided, supported here to have more things come together in the way that it is that you might like here that's going on, and to keep the hope and faith here that these things will occur, because I think that they will. Hey, and that's it. That's all I'm going to say there. Thank you so much for watching here. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like it, please like it on YouTube, share it with your friends, subscribe. I will talk to you 2 weeks from now at the full moon. Thank you so much.